Hey guys, Doug B here. This week we're going to talk about all the different models that Fractal is currently offering. I mean, they just put out 2 new models, just like in the last couple months. So, as a result, there's a lot of people asking, which Fractal modeler should I get? And of course the response is, what do you need it to do? It really helps to define what model is best for you based on a number of factors like, where do you plan on using it? Studio, stage, basement, garage, bedroom? How much processing power do you need? Now keep in mind that an FX3 can run 2 guitars, bass, and keyboards all in one rig. Do you prefer a floor-based unit, a rack-mounted unit, or a hybrid of the two? How deep are your pockets? And do you need this modeler right now? Now, by this point, you've done your research, you know how modelers work, and you know which ones you want, and you found, just like the rest of us here, Fractal is the best. You've also priced enough amps to know that to get something really good, you're going to be north of $2,000. I mean, that's just for the amp head. That doesn't count any cabinets, any pedals, or anything like that. Keeping all that in mind, let's take a look at the products that Fractal is currently offering. The FM3 is a floor-based unit with 3 foot switches. Price is $1,099.99. The FM9 is a floor-based unit with 9 foot switches. Price is $1,599.99. The AXE-FX3 Mark II is a rack-mounted unit. Price is $2,299.99. The AXE-FX3 Mark II Turbo is a rack-mounted unit. Price is $2,499.99. The FC6 is a 6-switch foot controller that will work with any of the Fractal modelers. Price is $499.99. The FC12 is a 12-switch foot controller that will work with any of the Fractal modelers. Price is $699.99. Now, looking at the power of each unit, let's use the FX Mark II base model as the benchmark, and we'll give it a value of 100. The FM3 would then have a value of 25. The FM9 would have a value of 50. The FX3, of course, at 100, and the FX3 Turbo at the high end with 125. But just remember, you should consider that the FM3, while at the low end of the line, is an incredibly powerful modeler that might still be more product than you will ever need. Fractal provides a very in-depth comparison chart at their website. I'll add a link in the description. They say this about each model. FX3, the world's most powerful and complex modeler by far. It has the capability to build large, complex rigs of the utmost quality. FM9, the most powerful floor modeler that Fractal Audio has ever created. 4-core DSP architecture places it in the sweet spot between the FX3 and the FM3. FM3, compact but capable. 2 DSP cores to run full amp and cab sims, plus enough effects to build exciting virtual pedal boards. Now, the FX3 can run, of course, its own presets, plus all of the FM3 and FM9 presets. The FM9 can run its own presets, the FM3 presets, and some of the FX3 presets within reason. The FM3 can run, of course, FM3 presets, some FM9 presets, and some FX3 presets within reason. Now, one of the big differences between the units is the number of blocks they can run per preset. For example, the FX3 and the FM9 can both have 2 amp blocks per preset with 4 amps in each block. The FM3 is limited to just 1 amp block per preset, but with 4 amps in that block. In each preset, the FX3 can have 2 cab blocks with up to 16 IRs, including full res IRs. The FM9 can have 2 cab blocks per preset with a total of 8 IRs per block. The FM3 has 1 cab block per preset, and it can have up to 8 IRs in that block. So, if you're running a studio, you might want to consider the FX3 because of all the vast capabilities that it can give for your clients. On the other hand, if you're a home player or a weekend warrior, the FM3 might be more than enough for what you need. add an FC6 controller, and you are way good to go. Now there are more points of comparison, like total number of block types per unit, total number of blocks per preset, total number of presets, number of inputs and outputs, digital connectivity, etc. These are all things you should look into before making up your decision on what unit to buy. Now let's look at the size of the units. The FM3 and the FC6 are the smallest of the units, measuring just over 11 inches wide by a little over 4 inches height and a little over 9 inches deep. The FM3 weighs just over 7 pounds, so it is the lightest and the smallest. The FM9 and the FC12 are the same size, measuring a little over 20 inches wide by 3.5 inches height by a little over 9 inches deep. The FM9 weighs 12 pounds. Now the FX3 measures 19 inches wide by 5.2 inches tall and 11.5 inches deep. It weighs just over 15 pounds. Now again, depending on your situation, any one of these units might be better than the other. If you're a flying musician, you definitely know the difference between carry-on bag versus checked baggage. An FM9 can probably fit in a carry-on bag, just barely. FM3 definitely. FX3 in a rack? Oh, that is checked baggage, my friend. Now, another scenario might be that you use public transportation to get to your gigs. In that case, the floor units are pretty much the obvious choice, with the nod going to the FM3. Now, this is, of course, assuming that you'll be plugging into the house system. I cannot imagine taking the bus or the subway and carrying an amp along with everything else. On the other hand, you could be a touring musician, using buses, trucks, etc. If your budget allows, you could go for an FX3 Mark II Turbo and a couple FC12 foot controllers. Big time, baby, big time. Or you might fit somewhere in between. Home player, home studio owner, might play in a band or a couple bands. I fit in a few of those categories. I'm a home player, but I also have a home studio, and I do get to gig every now and then. I'm not in my 20s anymore, and I literally cannot lift any more heavy gear due to back injuries. And I did not want to have a unit on the floor because I didn't want to have to bend down to make adjustments just because of how my back is. I wanted a rack unit, But first, I took a look at the FM3 and I put myself on that wait list. But then I did more and more research and I said, no, the FX3 is what I need. So I've got my FX3, I've got it mounted in a rack. I've got an FC6 foot controller. I've got 2 expression pedals and 2 stand-in switches. I have the most powerful, versatile system that I have ever had in my entire life. And I love it. Wouldn't change it for nothing. Well, I've got a Mark I unit. I would change it for a Mark II Turbo. However, if I had the available funds right now, if I could get on like Fractal's beta team, no, honestly, if I had the funds, I would put myself on the wait list for the FM9. That way, for some of the smaller gigs, I could just put that in a bag and take it with me, a guitar, an FM9 in a bag. And honestly, I could probably do just fine with an FM3 and an FC6. I would have to sit down and take a look at the presets and see, if I have to cut any quarters or anywhere. But I'm sure, for 90% of my gigs, I would do just fine. So it'd be great to have the FX3 at the studio and then just grab an FM3 or an FM9, put it on, put it in a gig bag, take that with my guitar, good to go. And, your wallet needs to be considered too. If you're going for the best of the best, you're going to be spending 1 penny under $2,300. If you want the turbo version of the FX3, add another $200 to that. You're gonna need a foot controller. You may as well go with the FC12, and you should probably get yourself a couple expression pedals too. Now, altogether, that rig will probably run you in the neighborhood of $3,400. Yeah, that's pricey, but like I say, if you've done your research, you know what amps cost. Heck, right now you could go to Sweetwater and just search under amp heads, not amp combos or amps and cabinets, just amp heads over $3,000. They have 33 of them. This rig blows away any tube amp head by itself. Absolutely guaranteed. So think of what you get for your money. Now at the other end of the spectrum is that FM3 for around a third of what that FX3 rig would cost. And still plenty versatile and powerful. And like I said before, you could add NFC 6 to that FM3, use the OMG 9 setup. You'd be just doing just great. One final thing to consider. Do you need this modeler right now, or are you willing to wait? The FM3, the FX3, and the FX3 Turbo are all available right now. The FM9 is not. You have to sign on a wait list, and Fractal just put out a notice that it might be up to 6 months before you get to see an FM9 due to some issues they're having right now. Now, they announced this on August 27th, and guys that signed on August 27th, and I think some on the August 28th, are starting to see their units. But I mean, you take a look at this right now, we're in the middle of October. That was 2 months ago. It's going to be months, like I said, upwards of a half a year before you'd be able to get your hands on an FM9 directly from Fractal. If it's worth it for you, hey, go for it. But like I said, that's just one of the things you definitely have to consider. Do you need that modeler now? Or are you good for, the next half year? So this should give you plenty to think about, but at least now you are better prepared for stepping into the Fractal world. Now let me know if this helped you out at all and what model you decided to go with. Okay, next week we're going to be looking at setting up per preset switches on the FC controllers. You don't want to miss that, so hit that subscribe button and the notifications, and I will see you next week. All right, guys, have a good one.